This national news edition originates from VK1WIA and is rebroadcast throughout Australia and around the world under a common licence published on the WIA website. This WIA national news service is copyright to the Wireless Institute of Australia, and rebroadcast is authorised only under the provisions of that common licence. WIA Director and Company Secretary Peter Cleave, VK8ZZ.
From Australia, this is the Wireless Institute of Australia with the weekly news service. This broadcast is in text, audio and video and is accessed on wia.org.au.
Joining us in WIA National News this week, Angelo VK2NWT, WIA Affiliated Clubs Coordinator, Peter VK4EA with the weekly WIA Board Comment, Alan VK4SN Manager for the Trans-Tasman Contest, and Nick VK7 Whiskey Ham Radio and Men's Sheds. But wait, there's more, much more in this edition of news from the Wireless Institute of Australia, and it's for week commencing Sunday, July 12, 2026. I'm Editor Graham VK4 Baker.
We are VK1WIA. What else?
Amateur radio in men's sheds. Amateur radio can play a valuable role in men's sheds across Australia. Bob, VK7BS, highlighted how amateur radio offers an intellectual and social pathway for men who are interested in science, technology, electronics and communications, but may not be drawn to the traditional woodworking and metalworking activities often associated with men's sheds. Drawing on his own experiences, Bob outlined how through trying to provide a structured electronics activity failed, and it actually led to introducing amateur radio to the shed. Amateur radio training, hands-on projects and varied activities can foster lifelong learning, build confidence and create meaningful social connections. The presentation also examined the practical requirements for establishing an amateur radio program within a men's shed, including management support, dedicated shack space, antennas, equipment, and regular activities to keep members engaged. With more than 1,200 men's sheds across Australia, Bob demonstrated how combining the social benefits of men's sheds with the hobby of hobbies creates a powerful opportunity to improve well-being, reduce social isolation, and introduce more people to amateur radio. This is Nick, VK7 Whiskey, wishing you good DX and a great week ahead.
G'day, this is Peter, VK4EA, Vice President of the WIA. With this week's very short WIA Board Comment. The affiliated club briefing session will be held this Sunday afternoon, where we are planning on covering a number of important topics. Thanks to Angelo, VK2NWT, the WIA Clubs Coordinator, for putting this together. Some of the topics to be discussed are inter-club discussion, what medium to use, latest update from the ACMA, radio electronics school update, MCOM/WISEN 5 meg usage policy, club support mechanisms, for example, grants, and many other topics. And in other news, the board have decided to meet more regularly now every fortnight, as we seem to have a lot to get through each month. And cheers now from Brisbane. This has been Peter, VK4EA, on behalf of the WIA board.
We are VK1WIA. Now, international news with VK2LAW Jason.
Hello. We bring you news almost weekly of space-related projects, usually during our Worldwide Special Interest Group segment here on WIA National News. Now, a lot goes on behind the scenes to ensure comms with spacecraft is kept QRM-free. Every amateur satellite that expects to transmit in the amateur satellite service bands is asked to obtain a frequency coordination from the International Amateur Radio Union before launch. The IARU Satellite Frequency Coordination Panel reviews each request, checks the proposed frequencies against existing band plans and other coordinated missions, and where the mission fits the definition of the amateur satellite service, and names a licensed amateur as the responsible operator. Recommends frequencies intended to minimise mutual interference. The running status of applications is maintained on the AMSAT UK hosted status pages, and it's worth a periodic look for operators who'd like to know what may be arriving on the bands. Still with a space theme, a June 24 report has highlighted that NASA's aging infrastructure at Kennedy Space Center and other facilities will require more than $1 billion in upgrades to safely support the cadence of Artemis lunar missions. The watchdog emphasised risks to launch schedules and safety if investments are not made. Maui's Field Day combines radio with recruitment. Like so many radio amateurs around the US and Canada, Ham's taking part in the ARRL Field Day at the University of Hawaii's Maui College were demonstrating off-the-grid emergency preparedness and showing the public what ham radio is all about. In Maui, however, the Hams added something more to the agenda for about 8 hours on Saturday. John Williams, VK4JJW, reported the following for Newsline Report 2540.
ARRL Field Day wasn't the only thing in the air on the weekend of June 27th and 28th in the Pacific region. Hurricane season was also on its way, so the customary demonstrations of ham radio operations that licensed operators provide to the public during the annual ARRL Field Day took on a new purpose: recruitment, as the Maui Hams worked hard to build a more robust emergency communications network to serve the region in the months ahead. While amateurs made an extra effort to connect with other hams so that they could fill their logs and have a respectable score at the end of the 24-hour event, hams like Bill Heidi, KH6UU, coordinator of Maui County Amateur Radio Emergency Services, were also busy making contacts with visitors who were not yet hams, but showed an interest in getting a license. Bill told the Hawaii News that he's been licensed since 1982, so when Hurricane Eva struck later that year, he understood well the value of emergency communications. That's a lesson he hopes will have been passed on by Field Day 2026 on Maui. The U.S. National Weather Service expects the Central Pacific Basin to experience an above-normal hurricane season, which runs through the 30th of November. This is John Williams, VK4JJW.
The FCC has now held its first spectrum auction in 4 years. With an estimated 800 megahertz of spectrum earmarked for auction by 2034 by the Federal Communications Commission, the agency recently completed its first auction in 4 years. According to news reports, the total value of the bids exceeded $3.5 billion. The offering was for 4 licenses in 3 major US cities, 2 in Chicago and 1 each in Boston and New York. The competitive bidding that has concluded was designed to ensure commercial use for these parts of the spectrum. The frequencies are part of the Advanced Wireless Services, or AWS-3 bands used by the major mobile carriers. The agency is now preparing to accept bids next year for at least 100 megahertz in the upper C band from 3.98 gigahertz to 4.2 gigahertz. The unauthorised climbers who scaled to the top of the spire above the Empire State Building caused the New York City FM and TV stations broadcasting from antennas there to shift to backup antennas on the same building, but positioned lower on the structure for about an hour. The shift followed building protocols as soon as the daredevils were reported. Heavily driven by the extreme RF present on the live tower, 2 people familiar with the inner workings of the broadcast configuration at Empire told publication Radio World. Many NYC FMs also maintain backup antennas atop a building at 4 Times Square. The couple was seen holding a pro-peace banner atop the spire, 1,454 feet above the ground. Radio and TV occupants returned to normal operations once the pair were off the spire. After more than 90 years, BBC Radio 4 went silent on its long-wave frequency of 198 kHz on the 27th of June. Although listeners in the UK and parts of Europe are surely missing such broadcasts as the Test Match specials and the shipping forecasts, amateur radio operators' fondness goes deeper than that, as we hear from Jeremy Boot, Golf 4 November Juliet Hotel, in this story sourced to Newsline.
You can still hear BBC Radio 4 programmes on FM radio, DAB, digital, cable and satellite platforms where the sound is clearer and does not suffer from long wave's familiar imperfections. To amateur radio operators, however, the relatively scratchy sound emanating from the Droitwich AM transmitting station signal was part of the long-wave station's charm. Preparing for the loss, hams at the Radio Society of Great Britain and the BBC Amateur Radio Group activated special event stations during the week leading up to the final shutdown. Appearing on BBC One's morning TV show, BBC Breakfast, Nick Todderdell, G4FAL, told the programme hosts that it was the older technology's ability to function reliably that appealed to so many radio amateurs. Nick said that many hams would, for example, use the long-wave transmission's precise frequency on 198 kHz as a frequency reference when they were building test equipment. This is Jeremy Boot, G4NJH.
To hams, BBC Radio 4 was less about progress in the modern world than endurance through the decades. The only thing that endures for now on 198 kHz is silence. From Socrates to AI, the human craft always wins. Technology's critics have always predicted disaster. Socrates thought writing would ruin human memory. AI is no different. But for radio professionals, the question isn't whether artificial intelligence can write copy or generate content. It's knowing when the exclusively human instincts built behind the microphone matter most, and understanding what moves the audience still starts and ends with the listener. Now a study finds AI voices equal humans on sound, not trust. Radio listeners generally can't distinguish AI-generated voices from human voice actors in blind tests, according to a new study from Crowd React Media. However, perceptions shift once listeners learn a voice was AI-generated. The analysis finds AI matches human performance on nearly every measure, while trust, disclosure and humour, not sound quality, remain the technology's biggest challenges for broadcasters. For WIA National News, in Sydney, I'm Jason, VK2LAW.
From here, there and everywhere, you've tuned to the Wireless Institute of Australia's National News Service. We are VK1WIA. Now, operational news with Felix, VK4FUQ.
Hello there. Now, Contest-wise 2026. WRTC 2026 competition in the United Kingdom is percolating right now. July to 13, this is the 10th WRTC, which relocates to a new host nation every 4 years and is often referred to as the Olympics of amateur radio contesting. The WRTC event is designed to provide a platform for high-achieving ham radio contestants to compete on a level playing field in the same geographic region using identical antennas, power output, and other operating conditions. The goal is to demonstrate international goodwill and friendship in the true ham spirit. It also allows youth operators to demonstrate their skills within this highly competitive event. There are 50 teams of 2, each with an assigned referee. Each team is allocated a HF operating site in southwestern England, where there are also taking part in the 24-hour IAAU HF Championship, making this WRTC a contest within a contest. July 18, VK Trans-Tasman Contest, and with news it's to Alan, VK4SN, manager for the Trans-Tasman Contest.
The VK Trans-Tasman Low Band Contest is on Saturday evening on the 18th of July. This 6-hour contest starts at 0800 Zulu and goes to 1400 Zulu. That's 6 p.m. till midnight Australian Eastern Standard Time. Categories include single op high power, single op low power, and single op QRP, multi 1 and multi 2. A special youth category overlay is available for those 25 years and under. Bands only include 160, 80 and 40 metres, and you can work VK and ZL on single sideband CW or RTTY and PSK. Voice operators, please keep out of the digital section on 80 metres from 3570 to 3600 kHz, otherwise 0 points will be allocated to QSOs worked in that area or be disqualified if running continuously. Please exchange the signal report and a serial number. The contest is divided into 3 by 2 hour blocks, work a station once per band and mode in every block. Remember that each new prefix is a multiplier to the score. For detailed information, please visit the WIA contest pages and remember to add the contest to your diary. Good luck and have fun. This is Alan, BK4 Sierra November.
Thanks, Alan. July 25-26 RSGB IOTA contest. Yes, closing off contest for the month of July. There is the Islands on the Air contest, which runs from 1200 hours UTC on Saturday 25 July to 1200 hours UTC on Sunday 26 July, with CW and phone activity on 80, 40, 20, 15 and 10 metres. The exchange is an RS or RSG report and a serial number, with stations on islands sending their IOTA reference number. August 15-16 RD contest. August 29-30 Alara contest. September 19-20 VHF UHF field day. Now let's open the DX window to the world. A special event will celebrate the Tour de France. Each stage of the tour will feature its own call sign. Both men's and women's tours are being represented through till August the 9th. See the TM00 TFR QZ page for more information about operating modes and awards. But quite a few stations are celebrating, including TM113 TDF 4-18 July and TM113 TDFH 19-26 July. Look for activity on various bands, SSB, CW and digital modes. QSL for both of these call signs is via EQSL. August 8 will be one perfect day. Cat Picks on the Air. CPOTA 2026 will celebrate International Cat Day by transmitting images of cats via SSTV. The internet was made for sharing funny cat pictures and movies. On August 8th, International Cat Day, so will the radio waves. Ham radio amateurs will celebrate this day with a special SSTV event using cat pictures only. Special call signs PD6MEOW Netherlands and N1C US are already registered. For WIA National News, I'm Felix, VK4FUQ in Ingham.
From here, there and everywhere, you tune to the Wireless Institute of Australia's National News Service. We are VK1WIA. Now, Special Interest Group News with Cole, VK3GTV.
Hello, first up in Worldwide Special Interest Groups News this week, it's astronomy and wireless weather. Astronomers have released one of the largest and most detailed images of the Milky Way yet, containing over 60 million stars and revealing dozens of exoplanet systems. The image provides unprecedented data for studying galactic structure and stellar populations. The link is in the text and video editions of this, your WIA National News. NASA is facing a repair bill of between $4.1 and $4.6 million for Deep Space Station 14, its 70-meter RF antenna in California, all because of what it's found to be inadequate procedures and inadequate training of workers. A report by the agency said that its investigation found a number of primary causes, including human error, weaknesses in software, and an undetected failure in the antenna's hydraulic limit system, which is its final mechanical safeguard. The antenna, a key part of the Deep Space Network, is expected to be out of service until October 2028. Imagine, for a moment, if we could actually repel those severe solar storms that knock out our ability to communicate. Researchers at Boston University have already simulated that scenario, with success. These researchers believe that they've developed an effective line of defense against geomagnetic storms that would protect radio communications, GPS systems, electrical grids, and satellites from disruption. It's not quite a vaccination against storms, but it provides what the scientists are calling a bold line of defense. The system, known as Stormwall, has emerged from research and computer simulations by a Boston University team led by Associate Engineering Professor Brian Walsh. Stormwall, of course, resides only in theory at the moment, but the researchers believe it shows promise globally. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, CW. Holding a tall pole and lightweight antenna wires which eventually connect to Morse keys, a group of amateur radio fans attempt to call strangers on the other side of the world. They send a short message from a hill on the outskirts of Bristol asking, "Is anyone out there?" They wait and silence. Suddenly, they hear a series of dits and dars. Someone has picked up this message from Shirehampton Amateur Radio Club. A person thousands of miles away has heard them, and a conversation begins. It's this human contact after transmitting into the unknown that creates the absolute magic of using the code, said the chair for the European Network of Morse Clubs. He explained that younger people are coming with sheer curiosity and then falling in love with it, as clubs are expanding and changing all the time. Worldwide Special Interest Groups Digital Global Registry begins verification of DMR IDs. As DMR radio grows more popular each year, the registry in charge of user ID numbers has launched a verification process that it hopes will ultimately avoid a shortage of available numbers. Faced with managing a finite universe of digital radio ID numbers, the global registry radioid.net has begun contacting users to verify their assigned IDs. An announcement on the registry's website said that the verification process, which began on the 1st of July, is expected to lead to the deactivation of ID numbers for account holders who do not respond to emails sent to them annually on the anniversary of an account's creation. Ultimately, deactivated IDs will be marked for removal from the database and will then become available for reassignment to new users. For more details about the process, read the community notice posted on radioid.net. Worldwide Special Interest Groups Final Frontier. The University of Victoria's MarmotSat has successfully launched into orbit, marking an important milestone for one of the projects funded through the Canadian Space Agency's CubeSats initiative in Canada for STEM, Cubics. MarmotSat was launched aboard SpaceX's Transporter 17 rideshare mission and deployed into a special orbit for consistent Earth observations, where it will soon begin its scientific mission. The CubeSat, made up of 3 cube-shaped units, was designed and built by a team of 57 students and researchers between the University of Victoria's Centre for Aerospace Research and the UVic Satellite Design Engineering team. Using an innovative approach to atmospheric radio measurements, the mission will study the ionosphere to better understand how its composition and structure are influenced by human activities associated with climate change. MarmotSat is one of 9 CubeSat projects supported through the Cubics initiative, which provides hand-on experience in space science and technology to the next generation of Canadian space professionals. Through this initiative, post-secondary students are involved in every stage of the project, from designing and testing the CubeSat to preparing for mission operations. Now that MarmotSat has launched, the team will begin operating the satellite and collecting data from orbit, building on years of work by students, researchers and industry partners. The amateur payload supports 4 distinct experiments, and the team stresses that it's available to all properly licensed operators worldwide. Because several functions share the same frequencies, the experiments are mutually exclusive and never run simultaneously. The published frequencies are a VHF digipeater uplink and downlink on 145.875 MHz, a CW telemetry beacon on both 145.875 MHz and 29.410 MHz, and a DVB-S2 digital video beacon and a linear frequency modulation sounding downlink, both on 29.410 MHz in the 10-metre amateur satellite allocation. Worldwide Special Interest Groups IOTA, Islands on the Air, Ellesmere Island, MA008. Pierre VK3KTB is active as VY0ERC from the Eureka Amateur Radio Club station on Ellesmere Island in A008 until Wednesday the 22nd of July. Now in this case, I don't think so. VK3KTB is the official amateur radio call sign for Tim Broomhead, well known in the Wireless Institute of Australia, WIA, community for helping build the IT systems for WIA awards and online logs. The call sign is sometimes mistakenly confused with or linked to Pierre, often using VY0ERC, an operator who is famous for broadcasting from the Eureka weather station on Ellesmere Island in Nunavut, Canada. So it's Pierre operating as the E3 KTB, CW, FT8 and SSB on various bands. QSL VE3 KTB via Logbook of the World and OQRS. And some OC reminders. Team KH8A will be active from Pago Pago, OC 045, American Samoa, from the 29th of October to the 13th of November. Plans are CW, SSB, FT8, MSHV, and RITI on 160 through to 6 metres, with 4 stations operating 24/7. QSL via Club Logs OQRS or via DL4SVA, but full LOTW upload will be after 6 months. Next up, it's Worldwide Special Interest Group's Rescue Radio.
Hi, this is John VK4JPM. You should by now have heard about AusAlert, the emerging system designed to send an emergency alert to every mobile phone in Australia. Watch for the big test around 1400 on the 27th of July. But on Wednesday, the 8th of July, we awoke to news that a glitch in Telstra's network was reportedly impacting thousands of mobile phones. Not just idle chatter, the outage grounded regional and intercity train services in Victoria and New South Wales. And then we had reports from police that 000 was not impacted, while simultaneously advising that emergency services might not be accessible from a Telstra phone and you might have to use a landline, assuming that anybody actually has one. These two mentions, AusAlert and the Telstra network, have something in common. Everyone involved, provider or participant, expects that comm services are guaranteed to be available and operational when needed. Our local council, events and emergency provider all knock back offers of help from our amateur radio club because they believe they're well provisioned with handhelds and the government radio networks will suffice. But is that trust misplaced? What's the plan B and plan C when the trusted network and general communication fails? When networks fail, hams are still around and we can't be put off the air by a misconnected switch. Outages like we've experienced are a public relations opportunity for those of us involved in emergency communications to show that amateur radio is far from dead and just the right community resource to have available when the official plan A and plan B haven't worked. I'm John, VK4JPM. You can reach me via the Darling Downs Radio Club, where this text and additional thoughts are available to read on our website at ddrci.org.au. And drop a line to secretary@ddrci.org.au. I'd love to know what you think.
Rescue and recovery efforts are still underway in Venezuela following twin earthquakes that struck the country at the end of last month. Amateur radio operators around the world are helping with emergency communications. All amateurs are still being asked to keep 7135 kHz in the 40-metre band clear for emergency communications in the wake of those earthquakes. That's it for the segment for this week. Till next time, stay safe. I'm Col, VK3GTV.
It's a date, and don't forget, clubs are welcome to email text along with audio for this section. Email nationalnews@wia.org.au. On the social scene, 2026, in fact this week, the WIA Club President's Webinar.
Hello everyone, this is Angelo Giuffre, VK2NWT, WIA Affiliated Clubs Coordinator. The WIA Affiliated Clubs President's Webinar will go ahead this afternoon at 4 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. An email was sent to all club presidents on Thursday, which included the Teams meeting link and the final agenda for the meeting. If for some reason any club president has not received the invitation, please feel free to contact me promptly via email using the following email address: clubs@nationaloffice.wia.org.au. All WIA affiliated club presidents are encouraged to join the meeting and, as mentioned previously, can delegate another club committee member to attend in their place if they are unable to. As a reminder, these meetings are an excellent opportunity to engage with the board of the WIA and other club presidents to both view and discuss some of the items that the WIA is working on for the benefit of all amateur radio operators in Australia. I strongly encourage all club presidents to attend the meeting for the benefit of their respective clubs, and I look forward to seeing you at the meeting. This is Angelo, VK2NWT for WIA National News.
Then you can all take a break, because nothing's on the social scene until September. September 19, in fact, when it's VK4's Sunshine Coast Sunfest 2026. It'll be held at 25 Peachester Road, Beerwah, Saturday, September 19. So now, until next we do meet, I am Graham on VK4BB. Walk softly.
From Australia, this has been the Wireless Institute of Australia with the weekly news service. This broadcast is in text, audio and video and is accessed on wia.org.au.
Courtesy of Bevan, VK5 BD's ATV and YouTube channel, this has been WIA National News. We're back now, live and local, and your voice, your callbacks. And don't forget, tick like.